Cans it up, the Penguins were changing. They're able to come out relatively easy. Here's Keith Primeau with it first. Primeau cuts the inside, scores! There it is! Keith Primeau! The much-maligned center of the Philadelphia Flyers wins this game in the fifth overtime.
TheFourthPeriod.com presents the O&B Puckcast, episode number 80. The Flyers are back. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do a lot for you tonight. A lot of stuff on the agenda. I'm with my partners, Shifty.
How you doing?
And Dan Silver.
Let's go Flyers.
Yeah. The Flyers open up the exhibition season, which consists of one game, but if you read between the lines, Dan, it really is kind of like 4 games if you count the round robins. But the Flyers win in overtime over the Pens. Great pass from Travis Konecny to Scott Laughton. And want to get your initial impressions about what you thought about having hockey back, and how does the Flyers look, and what do you think that portends going forward?
I mean, hockey's such a big part of our lives, and the Flyers are. It felt like so nice. I mean, having it back, because this season it was so strange. It's stopped in the middle of the season basically, and the Flyers are playing so well. And then you wait. What has it been? Like 4 months?
Yeah.
And now hockey's back, and despite the fact that they're in Toronto and there's no fans there, it didn't seem that strange to me. It was just great being able to sit back in the recliner, watch Flyers hockey, see them beat the Pens. I don't think they're going to lose the whole game during the whole tournament. Just going to go right through. And what is that? That would be 20-0, including the exhibition game, win the cup. But, in all seriousness, I mean, it was just great being able to watch Flyers hockey again. And we miss these guys. I mean, it's going to be hopefully it's going to be a long haul for us Flyers fans. And, hopefully they play into October and we get to see some Stanley Cup hockey. So it's great.
Yeah, it was really great. There were some players that stood out today. Chef, I know you didn't catch the entire game, but I think you saw enough of it to get an impression kind of similar to mine, that guys like Couturier, Hayes, and Laughton, who all scored, really were shining out there in addition to players like Provorov, Konecny. It was a real team effort, and they were, like we were talking about before the show, very tight, and the checking, they were right around the puck. They had the kind of discipline you wouldn't expect after such a layoff.
Yeah, it was good. And the most interesting thing was the ability to catch up. And I see, obviously the pace slowed down a little bit in the third period, but I saw from halfway through the first period on and through overtime, and I was just happy. I was happy with the conditioning of everybody. I thought that was going to be an issue, but obviously it's not too big of an issue. Everybody played well. It was a pleasant surprise. I think it's an indication of how much the players wanted to, because the Penguins didn't look too bad either. I'm not going to say that they're great, but I'm just saying, as far as coming back wise, I thought they were great. A couple standouts, of course. I agree with you on those. And I thought Ghost didn't have a bad game either. So it was B+ all the way around. I loved it.
Yeah, I felt that just mentioning Ghost, and on a night when Braun and Haig were out, Zamula played, and as well as Friedman, and I thought Gostisbehere was up on his skates, very assertive, kind of like when he's playing his best hockey, that's what he's doing. He has a lot of belief, and he had some good positioning and broke up some plays through the neutral zone. What'd you think about some of the younger players in Ghost, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, real quick, I thought that the best players for the Flyers were the guys that you need to be your best players. Like Ivan Provorov was phenomenal. He was +2. He played 26 minutes. Matt Niskanen was steady out there as his partner. I thought that Couturier and Hayes were phenomenal. I mean, it's not a Flyers game without Kevin Hayes on the penalty kill, wasting 20 seconds by himself, just swooping around the ice with the puck. He did that. So I thought, Giroux's Giroux. I mean, he's just so talented offensively, and he's the leader of this team. So those guys really, to me, led the way. The goalies played really well. Carter Hart let in kind of a questionable goal, but then he settled down. And I thought that Brian Elliott was really good. He faced a lot of tough shots in the third period. So the goalies were really good. Yeah, I thought Shane Gostisbehere was fine. I mean, I don't think that he's going to, I think you're going to have Provorov and Niskanen as the first pair when these playoffs start, and Sanheim and Myers as a second pair, and probably Hagen Braun as a third pair. I mean, I don't think that – I think that Shane's got to do a lot to break into that top six, and, he looked fine. I mean, he's – coming off this knee surgery, and he was contributing a little bit offensively, but when he's on his game, he's putting pucks in the net. But I thought it was a good sign for him. He played pretty well. Zamula, he's a really young kid. He's coming off back surgery. I think they just brought him up here so he could get some experience. I wasn't terribly impressed by him, but I wasn't really expecting to be. I mean, he looked a little bit overwhelmed at times, had a couple turnovers. Friedman was great. I think that he's just such a steady presence, and he was really good in his 5 or 6 game stint with the Flyers during the regular season, and he looked just as steady today. I thought Joel Farabee actually was pretty good. I think he's more likely than not to get a spot in the starting 12 for this team. But they do have some tough decisions up front, obviously. You've got a guy like Nate Thompson. Like, is he going to be in the top 12? And if he is, then maybe Farabee's not. But I thought, especially in the third period, Farabee had some pretty offensive, creative plays. Travis Konechny, he was one of the guys out there that was banging bodies, which is great to see. And he's probably chirping away at some of the Penguins players. So there were not many surprises for me, and most of the indicators were positive and things that I would want to see.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think there's an interesting dynamic with Lawton and Farabee as to who was going to get that higher spot in the lineup. And Chef, I think that Lawton is more versatile and can be almost as effective with lesser players than Farabee can. And Dan, you can jump in if you disagree. I think it would actually help the team more to play Farabee higher in the lineup as long as he can pull his weight defensively. But that's something I think that AV is kind of weighing right now and will be looking at over the next 3 games that are remaining.
I think that's a proper assessment there. I agree with the probably having to get better on his defensive assignments. Other than that, I mean, I think he's got a man. How am I going to say this? This is weird, but I think he's got good basics. I think he's not falling back into those bad habits that we talked about all last season and last year. At the beginning of the season, I should say, that he's not falling into those habits. I think that you're right. I think it's going to be a big assessment for AV to come up with, but overall, I think the kid's up for the challenge. I think he can handle it. He's shown in stride here that he doesn't get phased for very long, and I think he can definitely. He's one of the kids on the team. He's not like he's a little more far along than Morgan Frost, I think, in the respect that if you come to him and tell him, hey, we need you to work on this, this, and this, I think he's more receptive to that. I think he understands that. I think he understands the role he's going to play on this team right now, and I think he's up for that challenge.
Yeah, well, that'll be.
I mean, the biggest.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that the biggest question that's going to determine what Joel Farabee is on this team during this playoff run is if they want Scott Lawton to be on the wing or if they want him to be playing center. I mean, Lawton has been better on the wing the last few years than he's been at center. So there's, a couple different looks, right? With no Nolan Patrick, that third line center spot was a tricky one. It's either going to be Scott Lawton or it's going to be Derek Grant. So if Scott Lawton is your third line center, then Joel Farabee has a spot as either the second or third line winger, and that's pretty clear. But if they want to have Lawton as, let's say, the second line left wing, then it gets a little bit tricky because now you've got Derek Grant, who's going to be the third line center, and he's going to be surrounded by, JVR and Konechny or Pitlick, one of those guys. And so that's kind of where the decision tree comes in. So it really all goes downhill from in terms of what you're going to do with Lawton. Is he going to be a center or is he going to be a winger? And that's a decision that I think that they're going to have to kind of figure out during the round robin play. They've got 3 games. They're not going to be. I think that they're going to want to you want to get ready for that first playoff game. But they're not going to be treating the round robin games like playoff games necessarily. I think it's going to be a lot of trying to figure out the lineup. So that's really the key question. I think they like Lawton better on the wing. But if you really want Farabee in that top 9, then I think you almost have to have Lawton as a third line center. So that's the big decision that AV's got.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's just how much do you want Thompson, his penalty killing ability, his experience in the playoffs, his physicality, how does that translate versus the talent of somebody like Farabee and necessitating the moving around of Lawton in a position where he may not be at his best. So these are all factors in play. And yeah, I agree with what you said earlier with the defensemen. I think Braun and Haig are locked in as that third pair. And AV's just trying to get some ice time should he need to, replace one of those regulars. You want to make sure, due to injury, that some of these guys have some ice time after 4 months off. So that's going to be part of what AV's trying to put all together here. That would be interesting to see how AV does that. And Shep, you got the right guy at the helm. He decided, along with Chuck Fletcher, was leaving Carson Twarynski behind while getting Zamula, Oskar Lindblom, and Andrioff to make the cut, to make the bubble squad. And I just was wondering about, what are your thoughts regarding that decision? But it did strike some people as maybe a little bit different reasoning.
Yeah, you could say that Twarynski deserved a shot and played well enough when he was called upon to do that, but I think it was a smart play. Andreoff, I just think you get a little more experience out of him. Zamula, rightfully so, earned a spot. Plus, they want to see how much he can actually do. I think we saw it in the game. He made a couple of mistakes, a few turnovers here and there, but overall, it's a learning experience for him. And I'll just say this: I thought that there was a chance that if they went on that thing, that I said, it would be great just to have Oskar there, just so he can maybe get in a game here or two to play in a series, to be on the cup. But I think you can ask for your somebody injured to be on the cup or whatever, as long as your team requests it or whatever. But I just think that's a huge morale boost right there, having Oskar on the team. And in fact, if he can get back in third round or in the conference finals or whatever, I think it's just a huge win. To me, looking at that 31-man roster, nothing on there really surprised me and let me say I would have gone the other way. So I think AV and Fletch did a good job in this case.
Yeah, Twarynski's kind of like a quad A player at this point, and Zamula, if you need Zamula, then this is kind of like Dan, the 06 Sabres that ran out of defensemen.
Yeah, I don't think that that Zamula, if Zamula's seeing time in the playoffs, it's probably not a good sign in terms of guys that are injured.
Yeah.
I thought that the power play for the Flyers actually looked pretty good for being off as long as they've been. So I thought that was a positive indicator. I thought Ivan Provorov looked good on the point out on the power play. He's a guy who, to me, he's just such an all-around beast, but he's not, he's never really struck me as the guy who can lead a top power play unit and really add a lot in terms of over and above what you'd typically see from a first unit power play defenseman. I mean, he's perfectly serviceable there. He'll get goals and assists, but he's just keeps, he just keeps getting better and better. I thought that the power play looked pretty good. It looked better than the Penguins' power play, and they've got Crosby and Malkin out there. It was funny. You could kind of see those guys shaking off the rust. I mean, the Kevin Hayes goal was basically Malkin in the corner in his own zone, put a pass in front of his own net right on Hayes' stick. I mean, it was a perfect pass from Malkin to Hayes. And then, obviously, Malkin got it going in the third period. It was kind of interesting to see how the Penguins guys were shaking off a little bit of the rust. And the Flyers' power play, I was encouraged by how good their power play looked. I thought that Sanheim and Myers looked pretty good. I think those guys, could have been a little bit better. But, all in all, it was encouraging the way that they played. And, yeah, I mean, I agree with the 31-man roster. Twarynski was the one surprise. He's because you know what you're getting with him. And it should be said that, Lindblom, so incredible that he made the roster. I think he's still in Sweden, and they're trying to figure out how to get him, back over to Canada. Not necessarily trying to figure it out, but he's in Sweden, and I think they're expecting him to come over, but he's not quite there yet. So it will certainly be a huge boost for this team when he makes his way over.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was your thought, Chef, when you heard about the 3 years by $3 million AAV, a contract, the extension that Oskar signed? It kind of caught me off guard. And obviously the Flyers have the most amount of information about his health, his future. Apparently the issue that he had, the cancer, was mainly in the rib area, and they had to do some kind of resection, and I guess they put a mesh in there, and he might wear a flak jacket. We'll have to see how that works out. But what was your impression when you heard about that?
My impression was, first thing, good for him. That was my first thing. That's what I thought of, because I know we bounced about, what kind of deal is fair for both the player and all that between him and Patrick for a couple of podcasts here. We've been talking about that. So I was just happy. I was happy that he secured his own future, I should say, and also, but the one thing that struck me was they must be very, 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 very confident in his treatment, where he is, how much he's recovered, in order to sign a deal like this. I just thought that shows the faith they have in the kid. They must really, really like him. I mean, by all accounts, he's a great teammate, great force in the locker room. Everybody loves him. And so for me, that was the thing that struck me. I thought it was great because he's one of my favorite players on the team. And I just think that it's going to end up being a good deal for both of them.
Yeah, and the thing about when you listen to Chuck Fletcher, the enthusiasm that he had, Dan, when he talked about, well, this will be the least expensive contract that Oskar will ever sign, and I just think he's elevated to like a level of inspiration as much as anything for the Philadelphia Flyers this year.
Yeah, he's Oskar Lindblom. He walks into a room, and that smile he's got, it just lights up the room. I mean, you can just tell that these guys love playing with Oskar Lindblom. They love having him in the room. And so the other factor is with that, it's just such a huge morale boost knowing that they're going to have him there, that they've got him signed. But the reality is that he was one of their best players early on in the season. And so if he comes back to full health, which hopefully he will, $3 million a year is going to be a complete bargain for him. So not only is it a huge morale boost, but it's a great contract for the Flyers. Him and Konechny were arguably their two best players early on in the season, forwards at least. And so it's a great vibe just having him around, and everyone loves him. And so, I think it was just such a great strategic move. We talked about how Chuck Fletcher has made all of the best strategic moves for this team, starting with trading for the rights to Kevin Hayes for a fifth-round pick. He got him signed, and then getting the defenseman and Niskanen and Braun, basically, for Gudas and draft picks. He's made all the right moves. And I think that signing this deal with Lindblom right before these playoffs was another one of just a great move we're going to see pay dividends, not just on the ice when he comes back, but off the ice with how this team responds to that.
Yeah, I agree. And, here's to hoping that Oscar's contract is something akin to the Couturier contracts that Hextall signed Sean to. And let's give a shout-out to Sean Couturier, who gave birth to daughter Ella Couturier just over the last couple days. And it must really be tough for him to have to go into the bubble right after that. So congratulations out to Sean. But, gents, do we have any final words about today's game, knowing that we're going to have another game, the first of the round robins contest with the Flyers meeting Boston this Sunday. But any final thoughts about today?
Yeah, I just think you take what away from this game, that it's back. They don't look as rusty as we thought they were going to look, and it should be fun going forward. And and I wanted to say I agree with Dan. I think it's not so much winning this round robin series, getting the first seed, because it's not going to be a huge game changer if you don't. But I think it's more about getting your rhythm back and getting back into the flow and just working those lines. What, like we said, is Lawton going to be at center or wing? I think that's what we should take away from this first round robin series and this first exhibition game here.
Yep. Dan?
Yeah, it is going to be interesting. So they played today. It's Tuesday, and their next game isn't until Sunday, I believe. Yeah. So they've got, they're going to be starting the round robin. I'm very intrigued to see what the difference is between. All these teams have had 4 months off, right? So theoretically, while it's going to be more difficult to win the additional round, like the teams in the playoff and in the play-in round are in, they're, for the first game of the Flyers series, they're going to be playing against a team that just come off of a hard-fought, 3 to 5 game series, and that team is not going to be that gassed because they've just had 4 months off. So, I think there's a slight disadvantage for the top 8 teams, at least for the first game or two in the playoffs. But maybe there's more of a long-term advantage, and there's certainly an advantage in the fact that they don't have the risk of losing in that first play-in round. But that's going to be really interesting to me. I would like to see the Flyers do well in that play-in in the round robin, because theoretically I would not love to see the Penguins in the first round. But hey, the reality is that if they want to win the Cup, they're going to have to beat all of the best teams in each conference. So, it is going to be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, how intense these round robin games are. I think the round robin games are going to be pretty intense, but not quite as meaningful as these playoff games, the play-in games. So it's just going to be great. You look at the schedule, and there's days where it's like 13 hours of hockey. It's
crazy.
It's kind of
salivating over
it. What if these games all go to, what if some of these games go to like triple overtimes? You've got like 3 straight triple overtime games in Toronto. It's the same ice surface, right?
I know.
So you'd be playing until like 6 a.m. or something. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, there will be 3 games sometimes. Supposedly, Elliot Friedman said there's going to be 66 minutes in between each game. And I thought the ice looked a little slow in the third period as it was, but we'll have to see how that works out. So, gents, we're going to move along. Just a quick factoid from Jason Martinez, who passed along. The NHL announced they have had 0 positive tests out of 4,200 plus. That includes 800 plus players. So they've made it to the bubble in great shape. And, that's what else could you ask for? Contrast that with the cluster of fun over with the other leagues that we're getting. And, boy, that's a mess. But
let me tell you something, Isaiah. Fun isn't the first word that comes to mind that begins with F-U. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Fun would not be the word I use, but good one.
Yeah. It's been a very interesting experience, to say the least. And with that, gents, we're going to get a preview of the Stanley Cup qualifying rounds with a couple buddies of ours. Let me see if we can touch base with Steve Pearlo Wisdom. He's out, I believe, in Edmonton. And also our buddy Jamey Baskow. And from FlyersNittyGritty.com. Let's see if we can punch these guys in. And we're going to go through this. Jamey said he might be a little bit late. So we got Steve Pearlo Wisdom. And how you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the O&B tonight. We got this qualifying round. Now, you're going to do the Western Conference, and Jamey, when he can make it with us, is going to go through the Eastern Conference qualifying rounds and do a little preview. So while we're waiting for Jamey to come along, what just wanted to get your general impressions about what the league has done and how this thing's coming off. We just had the first game with the Flyers, and what were you thinking watching that today? If you had a chance to check it out.
I watched. I did get an opportunity to watch it. I thought it would be a little more intense, but they were both taking it very easy. I suppose. I guess with that layoff, you really don't want to be. You want to make sure everything is moving the way you want it to be, and taking a few hits. And it seemed like a very cautious game.
Yeah, it looked like two teams that were kind of very centered on being in the right position, playing good defensive hockey, getting ready for playoff hockey, and trying to keep good habits. And
yeah.
That's kind of but I thought the level of play, considering everything, was pretty good. It was pretty good.
It wasn't bad. The passing of the puck and being on tape and all that was actually fairly good. Yeah, I would have to agree. And as far as the league is concerned and what they've done, I mean, I think they're making a name for themselves quite a bit here with how they've handled this and how they've done this playoff play-in rounds and how they've made sure everybody's taken care of COVID-wise. I don't know if there's too many mistakes they've made along the way here. It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, it was good today, and hopefully everything will be humming along here as we proceed through the playoff rounds. Speaking of which, Steve, there's a lot of intriguing matchups out in the West. And, of course, you have all the drama in Arizona with John Chaika is out as a general manager. He essentially quit. And this is while the team is technically in the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm wondering what team poached him or what kind of offer he got. You got that factor. And then, of course, you have Nashville. Still has a lot of talent left over from their Stanley Cup final days a couple of years ago.
Yeah, as far as the Chaika thing, I think this has been something that's been coming to a head for quite a bit. And Chaika just came to realize that every angle he wanted to go to get out of the situation wasn't working. So he just said, I'm going to do it anyways. What team? I'm not sure if there is a team. Buffalo seems most likely, but I don't know if you're really just going from one fire to another there. But I think he's been kind of pointing his way out for a bit. I think, it's been something that he hasn't been philosophically happy with ownership for a while. That's just a lean here. I have no insight, of course. But this type of maneuver from somebody of Scheika's character and intelligence would lead me to believe that this was a final, like, okay, I'm just doing it.
Right. He wants something better for himself. I think he could have handled it a lot better. And with that, also before Steve gets started, just want to say hello to Jamey Baskow from FlyersNittyGritty.com. How you doing, man?
Hey, all right, brother. Hey, Steve, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, I'm awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to have a nice big back glass of gin tonight. And that was yep.
Yeah, it's a fun game today. We were talking about that before you got on, but
oh, amazing.
Yeah, brief impressions. Yeah, go ahead.
In my opinion, you couldn't have asked for anything better. Carter Hart and Brian Elliott played better than I ever would have expected. Honestly, to be honest, I really thought it was going to be a high-scoring affair. I thought it was going to be like 6-5. I thought the Flyers would, come out on top because I thought that, Brian Elliott would give him the edge in the third period, with, dead legs from the Flyers because he just had a really good game. Honestly, like, if you want me to be quite frank, I think Brian Elliott sort of won him the game tonight. Tired legs, both teams. But, you saw Pittsburgh really pressing, and he made really some astounding saves in the third period, in my eyes anyway. Like, AV's over the moon right now on a pontoon boat, in the fountain over at Hotel X, drinking some martinis right now.
Well, the team played very well defensively. And I think that's really was a big concern. They played a playoff-style hockey, even though we're talking about an exhibition game. These are extraordinary circumstances, so it bodes well for the Flyers going forward. But, gents, let's get centered in on these playoff matchups. And what we're going to do, we're going to start with Steve in the Western Conference with one matchup, and then, Jamey, we're going to come back to you, and we're going to hit a matchup in the Eastern Conference. And just in spite of all the distractions in Arizona, why will the Coyotes win or lose this series, and what do you like about Nashville in the same regard, Steve?
So basically, if they win, what I like, reason why I would think they would win?
Yeah.
I think if Arizona wins, and there's sort of my lean here, Darcy Kemper's going to play out of his head. He's the big factor there. I also have another lean on Arizona where you have a guy named like Phil Kessel who played banged up all year. He's a guy that hasn't been what you call a prepared player, but seems to get by really well that way and has been his whole career. I think you're going to see big things from him. He's a player that's used to coming in cold and playing like bat out of heck. So I think Arizona is going to need to get some goals from guys like Phil Kessel. Taylor Hall's going to have to come in strong. If they can play like I think they're going to play, they probably have enough goals to put them over the edge. As far as Nashville is concerned, it begins and ends with goaltending with them. They have probably the better overall team on paper than Arizona. They probably have more on paper. They should have more depth in offense and defense. Maybe it's a wash, but on offense for sure. The thing is Saros going to be there like he was getting close to the end of the year? Are they going to go with Rene? I'm a little concerned if they do, but if they put Rene in, and Rene plays like he's a 34, 35-year-old Rene, and he's playing for his last season of his career to win a cup with the team that brought him there, that's how Nashville's going to win. It's going to be I think it's going to be a pure energy win, getting behind a new coach and a new system really fast. Rick Tocchet's system is ingrained in that culture of Arizona team. So I kind of have to lean that way because of the defensive play of Arizona. Defense generally wins playoffs.
Gotcha. So you favor Arizona in that particular series. Jamey, in the East, we have an intriguing matchup between the high-flying Toronto Maple Leafs with all that offensive talent and a pretty good goaltender, Frederik Andersen, and the workman-like attitude that is reflected from their coach, John Tortorella, with the Columbus Blue Jackets. What's your analysis looking at that series?
I actually like the Columbus Blue Jackets, for this series to beat Toronto, and it's not because I dislike Toronto by any means. It's I don't dislike any player over there. Like you said, Frederik Andersen is a phenomenal goaltender. I just don't know if they're going to have enough defensively to for them to overcome, to withstand, a Columbus Blue Jackets team that appears to be hungry. John Tortorella, to me, is the best coach in hockey, and you guys know how much I love AB. But putting my bias aside, I think that is your Jack Adams winner right there. I hate, he just, how many players can people name on that particular team in the Columbus Blue Jackets? I bet you a lot of people can't even name more than 5 players on that team. And here they were sitting in the playoffs. Aside from the 2014 playoff format, they would have made the playoffs if they would have just reconvened the season as the standings were. That was pretty darn impressive. Okay, but I do know, they got a pretty solid, young netminder over there. But I just think that coaching, to me, wins out in this particular case. Coaching and defense, I just think that the Columbus Blue Jackets are a more better defensive team than the Toronto Maple Leafs. I did have one question for Steve, though, and I know this is not a...
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think that Chayaka being terminated over in Arizona, is there some sort of rift?
Yeah, I think this has been something Jake has been wanting to do for quite some time. He's had an opportunity, and he's gone many different routes, and finally just decided that he was going to make the choice. So there'll be some legal stuff, but I think Jake is going to win over here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Jamey, one last thing. So you favor Columbus. Who's going to play in goal? Is it going to be Merzlikins or Korpisalo? Who gets the first shot?
I think Elvis. I think you got to go. I think you have to go with Elvis. He was a hot goaltender going in. Korpisalo is a solid netminder. I think either one could give you some quality, reps there. But I think they will lean towards Elvis, in my opinion. I know he's a young netminder. I get it. But you know what? Young netminders have won over in the past. You look at the Flyers with Carter Hart and, what, Steve mentioned out in the West, in particular, with Saros, who also is a young netminder like Carter Hart as well. Would you go with Rene? I don't know. I think that they have to go with what worked to get them to that point. And to me, in particular, I think Elvis got them to that point. Okay,
so there you have it. So Korpisalo has actually been the one who's left the building. But anyway, moving on to I'm glad somebody thought that was funny. Okay, so
hey, that was good.
Okay, so we have the next series, Steve. The Blackhawks and in Edmonton. I have more people weighing in on this one for a variety of reasons. And I'm just curious. It's very intriguing because you have the experience of the Blackhawks. There's some injuries in this series that might play a role. And then, of course, you have the high-flying talent of the Edmonton Oilers, but a question in goal. I'll let you handle this one.
Well, the question in goal is the biggest one. If Crawford's not there with Chicago, I don't even think this is going to be a series, to tell you the honest truth. They just don't. Subban just ain't going to do it. That's really what it doesn't just come down to that, but that's like the final straw. Draisaitl and McDavid against an older Taves and Strome cannot keep up to those two guys. I tried to find an angle where Chicago does something here. The only thing I can think of is if they put Smith in and Smith craps a bed, or Koskinen has a really, really bad time in the net or something of that nature. But otherwise, I don't think this is going to be pretty. And I love Taves. I don't want to feel what he's going to feel at the end of the series. If it goes the way I think it's going to go, because I don't think this one's going to be pretty at all. Ever since Yamamoto came in for the Oilers halfway through the season, that Oilers team has been unreal. Holland has done fantastic things with that team in a very short time. I could see the Oilers going in a very good stretch here, no doubt about it. I cannot see if Chicago wins this series. Okay. That's all I can say. I just can't see it.
They're just going to win
can't
to
see
lose
any
in the
way
next
Chicago
round,
is
right?
Yeah, I can't see any way Chicago. Chicago's defense is if Ole Matt is in your top four in this stage,
it doesn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter.
Right.
You shouldn't be in the playoffs at all. Kuliton did fantastic with that team.
Great. So that's a vote for Edmonton in that particular series. Jens, as we move this thing along, we have the Rangers who swept the Carolina Hurricanes in the regular season in 4 games, I believe. Does that mean anything, Jamey, or is this just a whole new ball game after what amounts to an off season?
I think they're actually going to sweep the Carolina Hurricanes. I just think that the Rangers that is a sleeper team over there out of the East, is the Rangers, in my opinion. That is a deadly team. Now they get a Chris Kreider who's 100% healthy again over there, from his, leg injury that he sustained, or foot injury to the Flyers during one of their home games back in, I think it was February. So he should be 100% and ready to go. Then you got a sniper in Artemi Panarin, who, in my opinion, should be the Hart Trophy winner. But you got better goaltending, in my opinion, on the Rangers side. You got the King, who might be outlasted. Shesterkin.
Shesterkin, yeah, Shesterkin.
Sorry, I'm very bad with those type of names, and I'm really sorry if I butchered it. Thanks for the correction.
I'll tell his mother.
But he was playing some really good hockey, and yes, he is a young netminder, and I think that they might lean with Shesterkin over the King, and that is a good problem to have over there when you got the King sitting on the bench for the young guy. Now, vice versa, it doesn't matter if the King were to start over Shesterkin, because the King has been there before. So you know what you're getting in the King. So to me, who is the netminder over for Carolina? Peter Mrazek, they're throwing their faith in, and then who else is after that? You got the Zamboni driver, David Ayers. I mean, just the goaltending, in my opinion, isn't there for Carolina to defeat a heavily offensively touted Rangers team. And I think they were the second best offensive team in hockey, if I'm not mistaken. I think they scored at a rate of it was 3.3 goals per game, if I'm not mistaken. So they could definitely put the puck in the net for sure.
Yeah, it's an X factor there is Doug Hamilton is still not ready to play. I'm not sure about his availability right now.
Yeah.
I didn't even take him into account, and he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I didn't, to be honest, I just think the goaltending for the Rangers will outlast, the Carolina. I think they'll sweep them. I really do. I just don't. I don't see how Carolina could match up to the New York Rangers. The Rangers were a dangerous team in my book for the Flyers. Not that they would catch them, but if they could upset around, in the playoffs, which I thought they could have stolen, one round in the playoffs, Flyers could have possibly played the Rangers, and that series sort of scared me. Even though the Flyers had success over the New York Rangers over the course of the season, you could throw that out the window during the playoff time. I just thought that the Rangers, until Kreider went down, were a high octane. They were a machine that was ready to burst.
Yeah, well, the thing.
I think Dan Quinn.
He did. He's done a really good job. Don't forget Zibanejad is just popping in one power play goal after another. The thing about the Rangers, when you combine the high skill level that they have, the firepower with the kind of clutch goaltending that can cover up for some of the big mistakes, the high event hockey that you're going to get with them, they're dangerous, and they could pull a playoff upset. And as good as the Kane structure is, I just look at that, and I tend to favor the Rangers. I'm a little bit worried about the Canes' goaltending and the fact that if somebody like Shesterkin really gets hot, he could definitely help the Rangers upset the Carolina Hurricanes. So we have a vote for the Rangers on that particular one. And Steve, getting back to you with Minnesota playing against Vancouver. Now that's some high octane talent and some really good goaltending with Markstrom. Yeah, that's kind of intriguing because Minnesota is playing very well before the break.
Yep, and I've mentioned this lots of times before. I handicap, and when it comes to situations like this, especially after long layoffs, I like energy. And Minnesota, that Dean Evison had that team flying going into the break. And I just have a feeling that they're going to keep on flying afterwards. I really love the way they were playing. I'm seeing a very possible upset here. Vancouver, Markstrom, I mean, on paper, they've got some fantastic talent there. It's young talent. Peterson, Besser. Their veterans are not like Eriksson is not somebody that I would call a leader. In fact, maybe the exact opposite of a leader. So I think they're going to, I have a hard time with this one, but I'm leaning Minnesota. The only thing I have a difficulty with Minnesota, to tell you the honest truth, is that Stalick may be in net, but he was playing hot going in too. I really like Eric Staal on fresh legs in that Minnesota lineup. I really, really do. He's a number one center for 10, 15 game stretch, and he's going to be ready, let me tell you there. And Mikko Koivu on fresh legs. That Minnesota team was hot going in. I think it's going to be hot coming out, and I think I'm taking Minnesota to win that series. I actually have a little bit of money on it already.
Wow. Okay, that's a little bit of an upset when you consider Pedersen and Quinn Hughes. Is Brock Besser back for that one? Because I really forget.
Yeah, I think he's going to be there. Yeah, I think he's going to be there.
Okay.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's what I've heard. He's going to be there. You're right. Quinn Hughes, I mean, I want to watch that series just to watch that kid play. I love Quinn Hughes.
Wow, he's amazing. Really is.
I love a lot of the players on Vancouver. My partner in crime is taking Vancouver all day. So, and I understand most people are. We'll see. I can't get that out of my head the way Minnesota was playing going in. They were just so tight of a team. And they play a system that doesn't have to rely on timing all that much, where Vancouver plays a system where they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So moving along, Jamey, the Florida Panthers and Coach Q, who was so coveted here in Philadelphia, is barely a memory now, are going to take on the New York Islanders. And I think a lot of this has to rest on the shoulders of Sergei Bobrovsky, it would seem. What say you?
I think the New York Islanders win this one easy, in my opinion. I think that they win this one 3-1. I don't think, Bobrovsky, I think the layoff, helps Bob, clear his head mentally, to come back. This would be his second season, so to speak, with the Florida Panthers. And this is sort of the second season with Coach Q. But I just think that Barry Trotz is a hell of a coach. I think he's one of the most underrated coaches, throughout the sport, in my opinion. I just think he's just a phenomenal coach over there. It's unbelievable what he was able to do with that team, over there. And I think this one comes down to coaching. And I just think right now, I just think that the New York Islanders are a better structured team than Florida Panthers. I think that there is more that needs to be done in Florida for Coach Q to develop the system and nail it down. I don't think that that this team, the Florida Panthers, are anywhere near the Chicago, Blackhawks years in my opinion. But, of course. But I just think that this one, I think it comes down to coaching, and I think Barry Trotz is a better coach right now than Joel Quenneville, believe it or not.
He's had more time to install what he wants to do and make it a culture thing at this point than Coach Q in his first year, perhaps.
Yeah, and you know what? They just have those players over there, those role players, that just come out from the woodwork and just seem to gel. I mean, listen, look, he took Jonathan Tavares leaves, and it was like no problem for the New York Islanders. You know what I mean? So, of course, that wasn't this year. I'm just saying that's what good coaches do. They're able to get their players to play better given circumstances. And that's what, to me, that's what it's going to come down to. Can Barry Trotz implement his system in Florida, or try to re-implement his system in Florida? Something that wasn't really working. A lot of it had to do with the bad play of Sergei Bobrovsky. But I don't know. I'm a huge fan of Lehner. Right.
Well, he's He's in he's in Las Vegas, so that
Vegas.
opportunity lost. So with that,
Varlamov and Grace there on the island.
Right, Grace, yeah. Not Gigi, the older Ranger, Jazz Ranger. But it was a guy named Gigi Grace. But anyway, so we're gonna go with the Islanders.
That's what I mean. So like, Lehner leaves, goes to Vegas. They don't lose at all, right? They would have made the playoffs.
Well, he went to Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
He went to Chicago, and then Chicago thought they're out of it, and they traded him. And I think Carolina was in those sweepstakes. We talked about this on an earlier show, and they cheaped out. Carolina didn't feel like paying money. Well, that's a shock. But what a shock. They weren't going to pay. They're resetting the market in their own mind. But, gents, we have the Islanders over the Panthers. And, Steve, you look like you want to make a comment there before we get into the Jets and the Flames.
I want to put out Joseph Bork, brilliant mind, brought up a very good point with the Islanders of why they lost Lehner is they brought in Varlamov so they could have more fuel to bring over that Sorokin kid from Russia.
Yeah.
And Varlamov, I love that. I even think of that, and he brought it up. And I was always wondering why the heck did they let Lehner go, but I think it just got to the point where, like, that Sorokin kid was really what there was going to be for their future. And they didn't want to put Lehner in a difficult spot where they got this kid who they really believe in. So they took Varlamov instead.
Yeah. No,
so
we actually,
nice move.
We had a goaltending show, the future of goaltending in the Metro Division, and we had Jason Martinez go through the whole division. And I'd asked him that question Lehner is a better goaltender and at least more consistent. And has been than Varlamov has been recently. Was the Sorokin angle part of it? And he said he used to work for Jason used to work for Lou back in the day, and nothing that Lou does isn't without some strategy behind it. So that adds a lot of credence to what Joe.
He is one of the best GMs in hockey, and that's typical Lou of him pulling off something that people are head scratching as to. Okay, why I don't understand. You had tons of success with Robin Lehner, the previous year. He almost took you, to the promised land, and all of a sudden here he's cut out, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
Right, so it was a long term, and it worked. It worked because
it did, and they were able to get Sorokin over, and they were able to sign him for $2.5 million, I think it was, for next season, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Barry Trotz is the goalie whisperer too.
Yeah. Well, that helps. Well, he brought Korn with him, right? Mitch Korn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's all part of and parcel of what Barry Trotz does. But I talked earlier. Erroneously about Connor Hellebuck having to carry the mail. I might have jumped the gun there because it's not like his counterpart with the Flames is going to be a big factor in terms of really steering the ship for the Flames. He's just going to have to hold his own. Well, this is a little bit of a different matchup because the Jets have kind of fallen out of favor as a so-called Western power, and the Flames are kind of maybe treading water a little bit. Maybe where the Flyers were back, say, 2013.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, actually. The Flames in that regard, but you could almost say that for their whole existence, to tell you the honest truth. But with the Winnipeg-Calgary series, I guess the same question has always been the question with Winnipeg that there always seemed to be an answer for. And I think you brought up the answer very well, and my Vezina choice. And definitely the man of the hour, as far as I'm concerned, as far as goaltenders in the league is concerned, is Connor Hellebuck. With that defense in front of him, when you've got like Nathan Beaulieu playing on a regular basis and Neil Pionk playing in your top four, played well, don't get me wrong, but played a lot over his head. There was a lot not to like on paper for that defense for Winnipeg. Okay, and Hellebuck played insane, but there's a heck of a lot to like on the offense for Winnipeg. My gosh, Wheeler, Connor, Laine, Scheifele, Ehlers. Cody Eakin, Adam Lowry's one of the best third liners in the game as far as defense is concerned. Andrew Kopp is fantastic defensively. Jack Roslovic would be in most teams' top 2, and he's playing third and fourth line minutes for Winnipeg. So what I'm trying to say is here, Calgary definitely has the better defense, but I think Winnipeg's overpowering offense is going to take a Calgary's team who I do not like their offensive depth at all. The big factor for me, and again, I'm an energy guy. Lucic played for the Edmonton Oilers, and let me tell you, when you wake up every day and have to look at that guy, think that he's an NHL player, and act like he could be in the lineup, completely clueless. It takes the energy out of a team, and you've seen it with Gaudreau. That it seems like when they made that trade, Gaudreau just went. It was kind of like, what have I got myself into here? That's just an out of nowhere idea, not really out of nowhere, but it's just my visualization of what I've seen about the Calgary Flames and how that team has played. Also, Monahan, I don't believe, is really what you would want as your number one center for most teams. Gaudreau has been propping that guy up for quite a while. And I think the energy's out of that team right now. And that's not to do with the coach. And his name is escaping me right now. They got a new coach. I really like him. But overall, I'll take Paul Maurice. I'll take that offensive depth on Winnipeg, and I'll take Hellebuck over that team any day. I do like Calgary's defense. I like a guy like Rasmus Anderson, Giordano, Brody. I like those guys for them. But overall, I just don't see that team on paper or in energy capable of overcoming Winnipeg. I'm taking Winnipeg in 4.
Okay, gotcha. I got to admit, Bill Peters got replaced at all the controversy, and I do forget who replaced him. And,
I always do. I don't know why, and I really like it.
Yeah, if anybody wants to chime in with the name of the Calgary coach, I don't want to look it up right now, although I could easily. It's not that hard. Okay, so we're going to go with Winnipeg over Calgary, and someone will chime in with that. So, Jamey, it is left to you to review the last series. We just saw the Penguins tonight, who look pretty good, but they're playing Montreal, who had already quit on the season by trading away Nick Cousins and Nate Thompson, if you want to call that quitting on the season. But, Montreal wasn't really counting on much, but I still think when you have somebody like Carey Price in net, you can't rule out an upset in a short series like this. What say you?
I think the Penguins win 3-1, and the only reason I give the Canadiens one game is because of Carey Price. And to me, a lot was based off tonight. Yes, it's only exhibition, but Mike Sullivan's a good coach. And Mike Sullivan, that reminds me of a lot like Alain Vigneault. You're not going to play or whatever. You're not going to play up to his standards. He'll keep rolling through different lines or whatever, benching players, whatever, to get his point across. And I think tonight, with the way the Pittsburgh Penguins played against the Flyers, I think that was enough for me to say, okay, Matt Murray played a solid game. There was a fluke goal, Coots' goal. Not saying Coots didn't deserve that goal, but that was sort of a fluke goal. It was a deflection goal. It pinged off somebody. Good play by Coots, don't get me wrong, but it was no fault to Matt Murray with the change of, direction of the puck and whatnot. So you can't really fault, Matt Murray for that goal. Kevin Hayes had a really good goal on Matt Murray. That was just a highly skilled, goal. So Matt Murray didn't let up any softies, by any means. And I just think that, Pittsburgh just has the firepower over there. You got a Gensel who's 100% now, but mind you. You got Malkin who made that stupid play to Kevin Hayes tonight, and I understand that, but he's exhibition, and I don't think he would do that, if it wasn't, say, game time and, whatever. But you have one of the best players in hockey over there for Pittsburgh as well, in Sidney Crosby. And yes, he was hurt or whatever was going on and whatnot. We're not privy to that information. No one is. We could all speculate on what it was. I don't 100% know, so I won't say what it was. But you have Crosby who's going to come back in. I think what gives the Canadiens hope, not only Carey Price, but Max Domi playing. And when Max Domi, I thought, was going to opt out because of his diabetes and the COVID situation, whatnot. I thought he was going to opt out, but I think that gave a little life to Montreal. Like, it just seemed the wheels off the bus started to come off after, what was it? They had who opted out for the Canadians again. A pretty darn good defenseman.
Alsner.
Alsner. A solid, not a pretty good, but a solid defenseman that you know what you're getting. He could play, middle pairing minutes. He could he could play if they needed to plug in on the top line. He's one of those veteran defensemen, that you could plug in on the top line. Not saying he should be on the top line, but I'm just saying, you know where I'm getting at. So when Alsner was going to opt out, Alsner opted out, and then you had possibly Max Domi opting out. I was like, wow. I thought the Penguins could, sweep Montreal and just beat them easily. It's going to be a question of, is Carey Price's head on right, mentally? Is he mentally tough? He struggled a little bit this past season. There were a lot of trade rumors swirling around him, seemed to be, I wouldn't say fan pressure, but I think pressure in general was just getting to him because it appeared all the weight was on his shoulders. And when you got, what was it, Dale Weiss, Jordan Wheel, and somebody else on the third line or something?
That Domi, I think.
What was it with Domi?
I think so.
What are they doing? Like, Domi is
Well, Hextall is actually a secret advisor to them. I'm with you.
He must be or something. I don't know, because there is no way, shape, or form Domi shouldn't be in your top two lines, especially on a team like Montreal. I just think he's being so misused over there. I feel bad for the guy.
Yeah, but that was I think that was only for the playoffs. The training camp, and we'll see how it works out in the game.
Hope so.
Yeah, for his sake.
I hope so, because Domi is an underrated player. He gives you a physical presence. He can pot goals and stuff. He can really chip in offensively if you need him. He's a good two-way player, in my opinion. I wouldn't mind him on the Flyers roster for that matter. But I solely give Montreal one game just because of Carey Price.
Gotcha. Okay, so gents, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. So just to recap before we close this segment out, we like Columbus over Toronto, the Rangers over the Hurricanes, the Islanders over the Panthers, and the Penguins over the Canadians in the East. And in the West, we went with Steve. We went Arizona over the Predators, and Edmonton over the Hawks, the Wild over the Vancouver Canucks, and the Winnipeg Jets defeating the Calgary Flames.
The Swami has spoken.
Yes. So before
I agreed with everything that Jamey Baskow said over there in the East. So I don't know. Is that good?
We'll let the audience decide. But you want. Yeah. Before we go, we just want to make sure people can catch up with you guys. Jamey, you're on Twitter at Jamey Baskow.
Yep.
And
Yep.
And FlyersNittyGritty.com. Make sure you check that out every day. Just start your Flyers day. If you're not on Twitter, just go to FlyersNittyGritty.com. And Steve,
sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Steve. Had to hit the road apparently, and that's tonight we're really rolling with it. But if you want to follow our friend Pearlo Wisdom, he's at Pearls NHL POW to follow Steve and his Pearls of Wisdom about the NHL. Jamey, thanks for joining us tonight, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime very soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to say, let's go Flyers! Big win today. Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too. Okay, so Chef, let me just dial you in here. Get your impressions before we call it a night in our post-game edition of the O&B Puckcast.
Yeah, I think I pretty much agreed with a lot what they said. I'm going to say Calgary over Winnipeg, only because at the beginning of the season I picked them to win the cup, and I don't want to go against myself. So.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to turn out too well, but I hear you. Yeah. I'll tell you what, though. There is sweet revenge a little bit. I don't know. I said that the Rangers rebuild was practically over and that the Flyers really didn't have to go through such a prolonged rebuild. And I cited the Rangers as one of the teams that was proof of that. I liked the way they did things. I wasn't a Rangers fan, as I was, accused of being. But it looks like the Rangers are going to be a dangerous team. And as soon as Shesterkin gets his handle together and becomes a terror on ice like Jason Martinez in our previous show, had spoke of him being really, along with Carter Hart, like really the two best young goalies in the division. It's going to really be something. Yeah, Steve, you have joined us. We just wanted to get your information. I gave your Twitter contact information before you hit the road. So nice to have you call in and just square that away.
I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, we lost you. You're frozen, like giving us an Oskar Lindblom smile, albeit a few years older.
I don't know what happened, but yeah, I mean, are we still going here? I'm sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I was just giving people your contact info.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm. You've already gave them my Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel called My NHL Pearls of Wisdom, and I have also a YouTube channel called O&B Picks. I'm a professional handicapper. You can find me on Patreon, where we have investors that invest on our picks and make money at it. So if you like making money, you don't need to know about the game, but if you do, it's even more fun. You can go over there to O&B Picks or O&B on YouTube, hook us up, and you can enjoy the fine frolic we have over there. This has been absolutely fantastic. I have so much fun. It's unfortunate that little mishap happened, but it's okay. It's the way things go. I just absolutely loved it. I would love to do this anytime you want, and I'm so grateful that you offered me the opportunity to be on your program.
No problem. It was absolutely our pleasure, and of course, we will do this again very soon. Steve, thank you so much. Okay, you take care, man.
Okay, bud.
Okay, so I didn't kick him out. You know, what Skype was saying, I kicked him out. I didn't kick him out.
You big bully, you.
Yeah, tonight we're flying live without a net because we're going to do a lot less editing tonight. So it's a little rough. We want to get the show out to you before it's too late, so you can enjoy it before you go to bed and kind of recap the Flyers game. Hopefully we gave you enough info there. So yeah, so that's pretty much what we got for you. And of course we're going to come back next week because the Flyers are going to play the Bruins on Sunday, and after that they play August the 5th, and they're going. So that means they're going to go from Sunday, and August the 5th is a Wednesday. So we would be recording on the day before that game after Sunday, obviously. And that'll be that. So if he is still with us, Mr. Dan Silver, if you have any final thoughts, and sorry about the long time, you probably could have completed a term paper with that, but these things roll along.
I wrote one, actually. I did an entire dissertation during the last segment. I've completed my PhD, and I'm now ready to render any kind of medical advice that you guys would need.
Okay, is it War and Peace Part 2 or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give my playoff predictions.
Okay, cool.
The next time we talk, the playoffs will have already started.
Yeah.
So, and I'm one of those guys who puts his money where his mouth is, but I think that the finals is going to be. I think the Flyers are going to get there. I love the way that they finished playing when the break came up. I think that they're just throughout the lineup. They're built for a deep playoff run. I think they have such a great mix of veteran talent who's so hungry to get to the cup, like Giroux, Couturier, Voracek, JVR, Niskanen's such a good influence, and then combine that with young workhorses like, Provorov, Konechny. Scott Laughton's really going to step up during this playoffs. I think that goaltending obviously is going to be a big key, but I think that Hart and Elliott can get them there. So I think that the Flyers are going to come out of the East, and I like the Golden Knights to come out of the West. So I'm going to pick a Flyers Golden Knights finals, and I'm going to take the Flyers in 7 games. That's my official prediction.
Okay. Well, Dan, before the season, I picked the Boston Bruins to play the Vegas Golden Knights, with Boston winning. So at least we agree that the East is going to defeat the Vegas Golden Knights. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's plausible. The Flyers are going to have to take an approach similar to St. Louis last year, and maybe the '06 Canes, kind of like a workmanlike team effort, not outstanding stars. Maybe in hindsight, in 2 or 3 years, guys like Provorov, Konechny, and some other talents will emerge as all-star kind of players. But for now, that looks like it would have to go that direction for them to pull that off. But that's terrific. And you're a man who has done pretty well with these odds. So I'm not going to be a naysayer, that's for sure. So, Chef, why don't we wrap up tonight with any final thoughts and where people can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can get me at Chef to Left B on Twitter. And yeah, you know what? I think we covered a lot. When it starts for real next week, then we'll after the first game, we'll get into no pun intended, the nitty gritty of it, and figure out how they look for real. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's the best playoff system of any sport, hands down, period. And it's not even an argument, and I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And the NHL's got a real opportunity, like we talked about last show, to really outclass these clown leagues that they're competing against right now effectively. It should be very interesting to see if they can seize the moment. Okay, so Dan, let's bring you back one more time and get your contact info for your fans and where people can find you on Twitter.
I'm going to be here on Twitter at dsilver88. The 88's for Eric Lindros. And I'll be here helping get Flyers fans through this emotionally gripping playoff adventure that we're all about to embark on forever. So take a look there, follow me, and it's going to be just a fantastic playoff season.
Listen to the man. Listen, I'm a spirit animal right there with you. If we could do something like this, that would be great. You know, the Flyers, they won their 2 cups and people put them down. But like Jason Martinez has said, I said even before Jason, I think we've been following the team as long as 50 years like I have. Every time the Flyers made it back to the finals, which has been 6 times since 1975, they ran into a freaking dynasty. There's no dynasty right now. So we can get this done. I think it is possible. I still think the Bruins are the favorite, and after all, I did commit to that, so I got to stick with that, just like Chef has to stick with Arizona. I feel better than he does. But you can follow me on Twitter at Isaiah, ISAIAH _520, Isaiah _520. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at O&B Puck, at O&B Puck. Until next time, people. Take care.